right, 99.9 Punk World Radio FM. You guys already know what time it is. And right here, we are joined by a phenomenal, talented individual. We got Dylan Disaster right here in the studio and broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, all across the world. Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, you are most certainly welcome, man. Such an honor to have you, man. Like I told you before we went live, been a huge fan of you since you actually dropped your album in 2015. Obviously, I got that in my question list, so we're going to bring that up. But I know you're a busy individual, so I'm not going to take you away from your Thursday night too long. But I got to take you back, man, to the beginning of your amazing career within the music industry and just ask, man, like, what sparked your passion for this stuff, man? Because, like I mentioned, you're a very talented individual. Like, what actually made you decide to venture into the music industry originally?
Honestly, I'm not sure I had a choice. I just started playing guitar when I was a kid, like 11, 12 years old. And it was the first thing that made sense to me. It gave me a place where I felt like I belonged and community, and I had a creative outlet. So as soon as I picked up a guitar, I just never wanted to put it down. So I kind of just ventured down that path and carried on and continued to carry on and still do today.
And I gotta say as well, man, such a phenomenal guitar player. Do you actually remember the very first guitar that you actually got in your hands? Like, what model of guitar was it?
Yeah, I remember the first few. My grandfather bought me like an acoustic guitar, like a cheap acoustic guitar when I was really young, before I had an appreciation for it. And then years later, when I started playing, he bought me a Carlo Rebelli or something like that acoustic guitar, which I played for a while. And I don't remember what happened to that thing. My mom probably still has it. But my mom definitely still has my first electric guitar, which was a Mark II. She got it, her and my dad got it as like a package deal. It's like one of those guitar amp package deals for like $150 or something. And she got it from BJ's Wholesale, which is kind of like Costco. And I remember it because I got it for Christmas, but they gave me the guitar early, but they told me I had to wait till Christmas for the amp. So I was playing an unplugged electric guitar for like months before I got my amp.
That's evil. That's evil. But at least you're happy and a lot more appreciative of the amp when Christmas Day did arrive and you unopened it, man. It probably was the best Christmas for any musician, especially yourself.
I was thrilled, man. I was like, whatever, I got a guitar. I didn't care. I was happy enough.
But hey, at least you got some practice, though. I mean, but then when the amp actually arrives, you plug it in, and then you actually can, you know a few chords at least, or even a couple songs, man, by that time.
Yeah, I think I was writing songs before I really knew how to play guitar. Just like me and my best friends growing up, like I got into it, and I was like, hey, we're starting a band, and I told all my friends, and I was playing that electric guitar. Our first band practice, I was playing that electric guitar unplugged. My other friend was playing. We deemed him the bass player because he had an acoustic guitar that only had 4 strings on it, so we seemed like that was good enough. And then our drummer was playing on textbooks in my bedroom. So, yeah, man, we were humble beginnings for sure.
And also as well, January 1st of 2015, you actually released your self-titled 9-track album just called Dylan Disaster. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story behind this earlier released album. And of course, do you actually have any plans to actually re-release this project next year for the 10th anniversary edition?
That's cool, man. I appreciate you bringing that up, man. Yeah, that record was real special to me. It was the first time that I really kind of had the confidence in myself and enough songs written that solo style that I could put a record together. So yeah, I got into a motorcycle accident earlier in 2014, and I got a bunch of money from it, and I used that money to make that record. But those songs were special to me because I was kind of just experimenting and learning how to write solo music, and it was extremely experimental as far as like the recording process, because as a solo artist, especially coming from bands where you collaborate so much, it was kind of difficult to really figure out how to put these songs together and make decisions. And that was like my first step into doing that. So yeah, it was pretty special. And I actually have thought about doing like a 10-year anniversary. I thought about maybe putting it out on vinyl for 10-year anniversary or something like that.
And I gotta say as well, a vinyl would absolutely sound amazing, man. I remember when the song "Travel Well" was actually one of my favorites, actually off that project. So I'm definitely excited to actually get myself just a copy of this vinyl and actually be able to hear that song on wax.
Cool, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I will definitely let you know when we make that happen. We've been planning on re-recording "Travel Well" with a B-side from the new record and putting out like a split 7-inch or something, because "Travel Well" is kind of evolved, and it's a song that we actually still play quite often live.
And also as well, August 31st of 2019, you guys actually released a 12-track album titled Remission. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story and inspiration behind this amazing album, and of course, is it actually still out there to be streamed or purchased today?
It most certainly is. You can find it anywhere: YouTube, Bandcamp, DylanDisaster.com, Spotify, what have you. Yeah, man, Remission was a big record for me. I was going through some hard times in like 2016, 2017. The majority of those difficult times I was going through, I was writing that record. And that record is kind of just a testament to the struggle that I was going through. I mean, it's got the ups and downs and ebbs and flows the same way that I was experiencing those things. And it was an evolution as far as like songwriting goes, and as a solo artist too, because I had really taken my time and honed this craft. And I'd also been playing with Nowhere Bound for a while, and I learned so much about songwriting from those dudes that I kind of put all this stuff into this pot, and that's what came out was Remission. And yeah, it was also the first time I had like clarity on a vision for a record, like real clarity. Like I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted these songs to sound, and I had a vision, so I saw it through. And it was something that I was telling myself while I was doing it, that I wanted to make a record that was uncompromised. So I just wanted to do things my way through and through, and I felt like I accomplished that.
And speaking of No Word Band, because I do know as well, they actually evolved actually into your actual own band as well. I was wondering, how did you actually first get connected with No Word Band? And of course, what is it like just working alongside those guys for your future projects?
I absolutely love Nowhere Bound. Probably every single interview I do, and if Nowhere Bound comes up, I just glow about Nowhere Bound because I love those dudes. They're like big brothers to me. I got involved with Nowhere Bound because I started doing acoustic shows, and I started doing acoustic shows, and like one of my first acoustic shows was with an early rendition of Nowhere Bound. It's a really funny story too, because Clank, the singer of Nowhere Bound, made the flyer for this show. It was at a place called the Legendary One Swan. But he made this flyer. Clank's an amazing graphic designer. And on the flyer, it said Dylan Disaster of The Revenants or something like that. And I was in a band called Revenants. So he didn't know me at the time, but I asked him to change that. I said, can you change it to Revenants? And he was kind of like, who is this fucking guy? I don't know him. Why is he asking me these questions? And it was kind of funny because he still brings that up. But I met them then, and they were doing an acoustic thing. And, we kind of just connected. And then they put out a record called Mockingbirds. And they were doing their first European tour in January 2015. And they needed a bass player. So they asked me to fill in for bass. And we kind of just hit it off. And I wound up sticking around and being a permanent member in the band. And yeah, I just got to play with them, put out a couple of records with them, and do some tours with them. And it's great. They're brothers to me. And if we ever get opportunities to work together, I'm always down to take it. We just did a reunion show on New Year's Eve this past year, which was pretty cool.
And what was it like actually getting back on stage and actually just doing that reunion show, man? It must have a lot of great memories must have came back to you guys, actually being able to share the stage. And of course, just going in, transitioning from 2023 into 2024, just like, doing a reunion show must have been such a surreal moment, not just for yourself, but the rest of the entire band as well.
Yeah, it was great. We decided to do it because one of the guys is moving he's moving out of the country. So we wanted to kind of do a farewell show for him. And our European tour manager was also in town, so we wanted to play a show for her. But it was a great experience. We, even just practicing, we were practicing every week for like a month or two, and just getting in the room with everybody and sharing tour stories, and it just felt good. It felt like old times, and I'm grateful for it. I'm always grateful to be able to collaborate with those dudes. And then playing on stage was awesome. A bunch of people came out. A bunch of people were excited to see us. We had a great time on stage. We played a bunch of songs. It was super cool.
And one of my actual favorite songs recently, actually by you, is actually a song that you dropped July 31st of 2019, titled "Milestones." I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about this amazing song, because honestly, I have to say the lyrics are absolutely phenomenal on this particular single.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Milestone was. I felt like that was a tricky one for me because it felt like it was a little out of. It felt like it was a little out of my wheelhouse when we were doing it. You know, kind of those oohs in the verses and stuff was something I hadn't done before, so I was a bit insecure about it. Wasn't sure how it was going to go, and then like the big screaming part at the end was always kind of difficult for me too. But yeah, that song kind of just came about. Man, it's hard to think about how I put that song together because it was so long ago now. But I know I had a bunch of like different versions of it. And then when I got together with the guys in the room, it kind of came together. And then I sat down and wrote those lyrics out. And the song was basically just about, like I was saying before, that whole record is kind of about the ebbs and flows of my depression for over the course of those couple years. And during that time, I would feel like this sense of loss of control, almost like a panic attack. And that's kind of what that song is about, is just losing control of your emotions. And, you know, sometimes you feel like you're riding high and you're doing okay, and then you can just drop and everything kind of falls apart. And that's kind of what that song was about. And I wasn't even sure I was going to make it a single. It was one that I was kind of thinking about doing, but somebody convinced me that was the song that should be the single, because it was kind of like a risky song to put out there, but people seem to really like that one.
Sorry for the interruption there, Bob, briefly there. I was actually just going to say as well that this song has such an amazing meaning behind it. I can tell you for a fact that this song has definitely helped a lot of people through their depressions and their anxieties and just their low points in their life, man. I can definitely say this song has helped a lot of people.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man. That's cool. It's always good to hear stuff like that. I've had a few people tell me stuff like that, especially with that record in general. So I appreciate that.
And also, February 22nd, you guys actually had the opportunity to perform at Kick Butt Coffee for the Half Man Acoustic Tour. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this particular past show, and of course, do you guys actually have any other up-and-coming shows? That way the fans and listeners of you guys can actually come on out, buy some tickets, and see the Dylan Disaster live in full effect.
Yeah, that was the Half Man is my friend Chase. He's just doing a little tour, and we hadn't done an acoustic show in a while. And every now and then, you know, we get to do acoustic shows. We've kind of been in between drummers for a little while. So when people ask us to do shows, we kind of offer to do an acoustic set. And that's kind of a good thing about the dynamic of my band, and some of the songs too. They translate to acoustic really well. So we can do stripped down shows like that from time to time if we want to. And they're always fun. There's always a good time. As far as shows coming up, we're playing May 11th in Taylor, Texas. And then I think May 31st is going to be our album release show too.
And speaking of that album release, I actually saw as well on your guys' Instagram, you guys are currently running a GoFundMe to actually bring your third full-length album to life that is actually expected to be called All Roads. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about how this campaign fundraiser is currently going. And of course, what can your fans actually expect from this up-and-coming album that is currently in development?
Yeah, we started a GoFundMe. Making records is expensive, man. There's just so many things that go into it, and I think, I think fans, people who aren't musicians, have a general idea of what goes into it, but like, there's a lot behind the scenes that has to happen, and it costs a lot of money, and we do everything DIY. So anything that anybody can kick our way is super helpful. But the record is in production. We should actually have it in hand by the end of this month, which is really exciting. Like I said, we've been working on it a long time. And as far as what to expect of it, I mean, I feel like all of my records or everything I do musically is an evolution of the last thing that I did. And this is no exception for sure. These songs they're bigger, they're more thought out. I had been working on my vocals and my vocal technique quite a bit over the last couple of years. So my vocals have evolved a bit. There's also my band, the Revelry. Nathan and Guido and Mark and Will, they all contributed to vocals and helping me structure some of the songs. And Will in particular is the lead guitar player. He wrote a lot of the leads on this record. And it really just, he wrote like leads on the last maybe 4 songs that we wrote for this album. And his guitar playing is kind of just taking us in a different direction, which is exciting. And he's just a phenomenal guitar player. And the band in general, everybody that played on the record is great. And yeah, it's a big record, and we're really excited about it.
And I do know as well, March 1st, earlier on this month, you guys actually released a single, Nothingness. Is this actually the first single off this amazing All Roads album, or is Nothingness completely separate from the album?
Nothingness is the first single off of the record. So if you like Nothingness, you'll like the record. I think it's a fairly decent representation of the record, but all the songs are pretty different from one another. But Nothingness does represent it well as far as like bigness goes, and that evolution that I'm kind of talking about too.
And I can definitely say if this album is just as good as Nothingness, I can only imagine what's actually going to come from this, because Nothingness was an amazing killer single, man. So if this album is just like that, honestly, I don't think us fans would be able to skip one song at all. I think you'd have to listen to it from front to back each time.
That's what I'm hoping for, man.
It'd be criminal.
All killer, no filler, man. That's what I'm going for.
But also, I have to ask as well, aside from this amazing album and, of course, the shows you have coming up in May, what is next for yourself, Dylan Disaster? Like, is there anything we happen to miss during this evening's interview that you still want to touch on, talk about, or promote what we still got you here live on the radio station airwaves?
I mean, really, it's just all about the record right now. We're pushing that single, Nothingness. And then we're going to start doing some, like, little drops and, like, teases about the record so people can hear little snippets of the record here and there. And then the album's going to come out May 31st. And then we're going to start planning some tours. We're going to be going to Japan in September, which is really exciting. And yeah, that's kind of it right now. Just pushing that record and letting people know about the record that's coming out.
And I got to say as well, definitely safe travels to Japan, man. Honestly, I heard some stories about bands going over to Japan that they absolutely love their live music, man. So you guys are going to be treated like royalty out there. I've heard, every band I've heard stories about Japan, they literally came back, was like, wow, they literally love us out there. So you guys are definitely in for a treat, man. You guys are going to be treated like royalty.
I can't wait. I'd be happy just to be treated like a regular dude. I'm super excited about it. We had a tour booked for Japan in 2020, but obviously nobody went anywhere in 2020. So I've been trying to get us to book another tour, or a first tour, since the pandemic. So I'm really excited to be doing that.
And Dylan, before we actually part ways here tonight, obviously I know how to follow you yourself and the rest of the band on social media, but for the individuals that might just be discovering Dylan Disaster here tonight on 99.9 Punk World Radio FM, how do we go about following you across all social media platforms? That way we can stay updated on this, on All Roads, the album, stay updated on the Japan tour, and of course the shows coming up in May as well.
Yeah, Dylan Disaster on Instagram, Facebook, dylandisaster.com. And then Dylan Disaster and the Revelry on Facebook and Instagram too, to follow the full band. I'd say follow the full band because we're going to be posting there a lot. Because I mean, I'm doing solo stuff too. I'm doing interviews and stuff like that. But I want everybody to get to know the full band. So go follow Dylan Disaster and the Revelry on Facebook and Instagram, and keep spinning Nothingness on Spotify. Get those plays up for us. And yeah, that's where we're at. We're all over the internet.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, Dylan, thank you so much for giving not only myself, but the radio station airwaves a bit of your time, man. It was such an honor to speak with you. Hopefully, down the line, we can make this happen again sometime soon. But for now, definitely have yourself a phenomenal Thursday night, man. Thank you so much again for your time.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, you're most certainly welcome, Dylan. Thank you so much again.
All right. Take it easy.